Okay, I think we're live. I'm just gonna pull this up here. Wait for a couple people to log on. Feels good to be back.
Yeah, I don't know how to do a host again. I was so good at it, and all of a sudden we're back on and it's like riding a bike, I guess.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Good night. Karen here from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. I'm here today with my lovely, all-around smart partner, Tina.
Hi, guys.
Yeah,
Good
so
to be here.
yes, we are just comment on because as you've noticed, we've gotten some comments from friends and people who have been following our content and asking us where the hell we've been. Well, we're hopping on because we actually feel well enough to come on. Not 100% though, but well enough that we're here. I think the last time that you posted something was on September 11th, the day that I was coming to Jersey. So it's been a month. We're October
Wow.
10th today. So,
Wow.
and it's going to be October 11th in a couple of hours here in Eastern time.
Yeah, and last night was the full moon.
Yeah, I bet. So 2 full moons passed. But yeah, we're coming on because we want to talk about, the plague stuff. There's some plague energies, I guess. What is the plague? Well, whatever you think it is. But yeah, we wanted to know, like, the question is the plague caused by spiritual attacks, abduction, perhaps? And topics like, where have we been? So we're going to explain to you what has happened to us in the last month, why we were MIA, and yeah, just updates with our experience with, just hopping on Tina's last video that she made on September 11th of the Wave of Darkness.
Yeah.
So we'll just talk about that. We'll see how everybody's doing. It's really good to see everyone. Hello, Glennis.
Hi, Glennis. Hi, Cece.
Cece. It's good to see you all again.
Energies have been crazy. Like,
This is not a good thing. It's like, get me out of here. Everything's closing.
So intense. So intense.
It's been really, really intense. So where to begin? I mean, okay, it all started, with the Queen of England dying on the 8th of September. And then we had the harvest moon. We had September 11th. We had a lot of emotional, they were just taking care of that garden of Loosh in those days. I don't know. I don't even know what else we could talk about. I mean, that was like 3 big events. What's happening?
I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or yours, but it was like popping out for a minute.
Wonky?
Yeah. I'm getting like super frequencies coming through. You can see like the blips in my screen. So yeah, I think you were just frozen for a minute.
That's okay. Oops. I know the face. I'm okay with the face being funny looking. Story of my life. So where were we?
Yeah, so you were talking about.
It's good to see you guys again. Oh, why is it just me on the screen? You didn't pin me? Oh no, we're going back and forth we're not side by side, just to say.
No, I pinned you for a minute to see your Wi-Fi. It's in the red. That's why it's freezing. Yeah. So we're still being attacked, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a couple of events happening like while we were together. I mean, I went there for a week without the kids because the kids were back to school, and because we had a Pearl Jam concert out in Jersey. So we went for that, and being around, it was an outdoor concert. It was a nice reunion. It was my first tailgate. Um highlights.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was sold out and around like 25,000 people. You were not allowed to bring water in there, so they were selling water called liquid death. That was a real thing.
Yeah.
I think
And
we were
like,
so stunned by it that we're
I
like,
was,
"It's okay, it's weird, but you're drinking that frequency."
yeah. And not only can you bring that picture up? Can you pull the picture up of that?
Yeah.
The liquid death water, not only is it named liquid death, but on the side, it talks about the recycling of souls. And so you can tell that however this water was created with a really strong intention of death, recycling of souls, and just, yeah, just that overall energy that was infused in that water. Water is consciousness, right? So it's taking all whatever thoughts and intentions that we program into it, which is the whole point of why we use water alchemy in beyond quantum healing. Is to seal our intention in a positive way, using water alchemy in a positive way. Yeah, with the skeleton,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Can you read the side of it?
Yeah. Says this infinitely recyclable can of stone cold mountain water came straight from the Alps to murder your thirst. When a group of teenagers set off into the mountains for a weekend of drinking regular water in plastic bottles, they became hunted by an aluminum can of mountain water that was dead set on murdering their thirsts and recycling their souls. Once cracked open, no thirst is safe from liquid death. After ritually dismembering its thirst victims, this brutal can of water used the severed body parts of dead thirsts to build itself a flesh suit, which it I can't even read it, seriously. Which it used as a disguise to get a job in marketing. But Liquid Death never took the job. It just murdered a bunch more thirsts instead. Hashtag death to plastic.
Yeah.
They had to like put that nice thing at the bottom, like
Yeah.
just to say like just ignore what we just said. And people
Yeah.
like all the environmentally like freaks are like, okay, it's good. Because that's how
Yeah.
easy we are programmed. Like we're just looking for comfort.
Yeah. No, I thought it was the energy of not the concert itself, but the venue. The energy of the venue was really interesting because it did feel very dark. And not only were they serving death water, but it was also a cashless venue. So there you already see like the Great Reset kind of energy coming
Mhm.
in there. Now I don't know what the intentions of the people who uh, bottled this water actually are, but if they're unconsciously using those intentions in their water, then it's just, it could be that they're just unaware, but I feel like there's a deeper occult ritual type energy that's being infused into that water itself.
Yeah.
So we were that was the only water available. And we had to drink it. So that being said, I think just being in a crowd of that many people, having to drink that water, the energy of the venue that was really dark, I think that created enough of a vulnerability in us, like a crack. What I saw was like this big crack in our fields. Um, and so Karen started, we were both just felt awful the day after, but
Yeah.
you were started feeling it more so. And during that time, this is really interesting too, because during that whole week, there were praying mantises outside on my cosmos. I grew cosmos, and they're really delicate flowers, but they grow really tall, like kind of like with thicker what are they called?
What?
Trunks, I guess.
Oh.
They're not trunks.
Oh, like the thick like plant sticks. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, see, we're still not all there.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, they grow real tall, and there were a few praying mantises just hanging out on the flowers like that whole week. And it almost felt like they were monitoring us, like they were watching us. And then I think it was I think it was after the concert.
The concert was on a Wednesday. Like, so September 11 was on a Sunday. I drove to Jersey that day. And then Wednesday was the concert. And then are we on the weekend now?
Well, on one of those days, we saw the two praying mantises that were mating on the flowers. Remember? And it was really, really strange. And
thanks, Sam. Stems.
stems.
We're like, plant sticks, plant bark. Like,
I feel like my thoughts are being sucked out.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, stems, that would be the word.
Cosmos stalks.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are both better than what we're saying. I'm going with plant sticks. Plant sticks 100, Alex.
Plant sticks.
Wow. Okay.
That's right, Cece. We did watch that Woodstock documentary. People got sick from the water. Yeah, and I think that was really the whole point behind the water, serving that like it was just so gross. But anyway, we were feeling good after the concert. And there were these mantis beings that felt like they were monitoring us. And then so the concert was Wednesday. By Saturday, you really weren't feeling well. We went to bed early. I stayed up. I stayed up because the next day we were having a photo shoot for photos for our website, which we've never had professional photos done before. We were super excited. We went shopping, we bought outfits, like it was a whole thing. Like this was the first time we were actually going to have professional photos taken. And so I stayed up to do a couple things. So Karen went to sleep.
Yeah, I was dead.
Yeah. And so I went to bed a couple hours later. I got in bed. I fell asleep. At some point, she got up and went to the couch. And while she was on the couch, I was partially conscious in my sleep, but couldn't move. And I was freezing cold. And I felt like I was on a cold metal table, being injected with something by Grays. Now, at the time, I couldn't see them and I couldn't move, but that's what it felt like. It felt like I was laying on a cold table and there were Grays there. I could feel their energy. And my body was just like shaking. It was just like shaking with this energy. And I was completely fine when I went to bed. And I remember actually, I was conscious enough to actually say no out loud. I remember saying no, like in an attempt to say like, no, I do not consent to this, leave me alone. So what it felt like was my physical body was in the room and they had taken my astral body to another space. And when we went back and remote viewed it, they had taken both of us. So Karen was on the couch and you heard me say no, right? So do you want to tell the story from that point?
Yeah, I was half in and out, like because at this point I was sick. Like you couldn't deny I was sick. Usually when I get sick like that, I'm not really in body. I'm kind of half out. And but I felt like I was like in between sleep, like trancey And
Mhm.
I remember I felt a presence. I started to smell sulfur, trash, like something like that. So I knew that there was reptiles around or something was around. And then in my mind's eye, like I saw it in my head, um, that there was a gray and a reptile behind it in Tina's room. So I saw them there. And I was thinking, I'm like, oh my God, you gotta get up. Like, but I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. And in the remote viewing, we saw that it was just like my fear, my body was in fear because they were there or whatever. And and my thoughts were starting to get erased in that moment, because again, it's kind of like when you're in between sleep, like where you think you're dreaming, and then it's like when you open your eyes, um, it's gone. That's what it felt like. Like I was thinking, I'm like, I know if I open my eyes, it's gonna be gone. But I was seeing like my thoughts in front of me, like, and they were getting blocked out. So I was not really thinking about, I guess, like, okay, no, I think I'm imagining that they're there. I'm just gonna clear it from where I am, and I can't move anyway because I'm sick or whatever is happening. And again, I'm not rationalizing anything because I'm pretty much delirious.
But you're seeing your
Hmm.
thoughts getting erased. How did that
Yes.
look to you?
It kind of looked like words coming down a screen, like not really like matrix jargon like that, like green or whatever. It was just there. And then I was seeing these like black things coming down on top of my thoughts, my words. I call them like dark Kit Kats. They were just going over my thoughts, so I wasn't really thinking. So I was thinking, I'm like, is that really happening? And right when I was thinking that, that's when Tina screamed out, "No!" So I'm like, holy fucking shit. I go in my head, I'm like, oh my God. I go, I don't know if there's a gray right like live physically in there. I go, but I gotta will myself up. I gotta will myself up and go in there and punch that shit in the face. Like I didn't know. I was like, not all there. So that was a confirmation to me. Like a lot of stuff was going on in my head all simultaneously. Like, okay, I gotta go in there. I gotta go punch that thing in the face. Oh my God. They're like deleting my memories because they don't want me to know this. They don't want me to know that this is happening.
Right. I felt like our consciousness broke through whatever the memory wipe they were trying to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, Abstract. Oh, if you see Abstract, Tina's wearing a shirt,
Yeah.
and I think it's dope. Yeah. So a lot of that was happening at the same time. So it's just crazy how it all went down, because like you don't even realize, because again, you could just think in your head like, okay, I'm sick. I know that I could just be having like, like
Hallucinating.
those, yeah, hallucinations or those fever dreams
Fever
or
dreams. Yeah.
whatever. And no, right when I was thinking like, okay, I'm gonna, like, this is just trancy or dreaming because I'm losing my thoughts, she screams it out. So I was, I don't know. And then I heard the door close or something. I don't remember what happened.
Yeah.
I heard the door close in her room. Um, and I'm like, holy shit. I gotta go open that door. I don't know what I'm gonna see. I willed myself out of my paralysis to go in there. Yeah. Yeah. She's at the window getting fresh air. So I was like, I was ready to go out and pop something.
I know when you told me that, I was like, oh my God. Like you really thought that there was a physical reptilian and gray in my room.
Yeah, and I was ready to go pop it. Like I had to get out of my fear and go do it. Like I
Wow,
and I
that's
showed up.
brave.
See, so I would take a bullet for you. Totally. I would take a reptile.
That's ride or die right
That's ride or
there.
die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you came in and you said, were you just talking?
Yeah, because I felt crazy. Because those damn Kit Kats were coming in my fucking field. So I don't know. Like I'm like, did that just really happen?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I was talking. I was saying, no, get the fuck off of me. Like, that's what I was saying in my mind. The only thing I
Right.
could get out of my mouth was no. Um, yeah, but that was a crazy experience. And I said the same thing too. Like, if I didn't have that conscious awareness, I would have, and you to validate what was actually happening, because
Mhm.
we validated each other, right? If it would have just happened to one of us, we probably would have just passed it off as a dream or a fever, hallucination, or delusion. But
Right.
because it happened to both of us in real time, we were able to validate it for each other and be like, no, that just really fucking happened. And yeah, it was insane. So I got up and went to get some fresh air by the window. And I don't even remember seeing it. I just knew that they had injected me with something, some
Mm.
kind of poison. I felt it all through my body. My body was still like shaking and shivering, like it was just having this big reaction. Um, and I think we went back to sleep. You came back in the room, we went back to sleep, and then a
But your
couple out.
body was super hot, like as if your body had a whole, like you were having a fever.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was probably trying to fight off whatever that was. And about an hour or two later, my dog had to go out. So I got out of bed to take him out front. When I went out front, it was dead silent. I mean, dead silent. There were no air conditioners on. I couldn't hear the cars on the highway. No crickets, no birds, no nothing. It was dead silence. I've never heard anything like that before. And that was my validation that they had actually frozen time and really did abduct us.
Yeah, or whatever abduction is. Like
Yeah.
there was something going on, and it validated also what we saw in sessions like back, like about like
That have,
this, yeah, this kind of technology that they have where they can pause time.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. So I knew, and it was so eerie, the silence. I started calling on nature because I know that nature is really the only benevolent and organic energy that we can really call on in this realm. So I started calling on nature and to be like, wake up, like we need help here, like wake up. And I started hearing a bird chirp, but it was far. It wasn't like in my immediate surroundings. It was like farther away.
Yeah, it
Um,
was like outside, like the sonic boom of
yeah,
whatever that was.
yeah, like it was like some kind of
Overlay or
bubble,
something.
bubble we were in. And it was interesting because later that day, so we woke up like late in the afternoon. Neither of us could move.
No, we were
It
completely dead.
dead. Like I have never been so sick in my life. Like usually when I get sick, I can move, I can do things, I can make myself juice or take care of myself in some way. And I literally couldn't move. And we had to cancel our photo shoot, which was so disappointing.
Totally. But I felt relief that you canceled because I'm like, I don't think I could do it.
No way. No way.
There's
No.
no fucking way. I couldn't even get up. It was really hard for me to even just go to the bathroom.
Yeah. My head was pounding. My body was just so heavy.
It was so
Um,
sore. My whole body was hurting and in pain.
yeah. Yeah. Hold on, let me let Coco in.
Oh, wait, give me something to talk about. All right, let me just read what's going on. Yeah, me too, Abstract. I'm glad we're all right. Like, it was a little bit of a scary thing, but just to say that we're not 100%. At least I'm not 100% yet. Um, I was supposed to leave the following Monday, the day after the photo shoot, and I couldn't. I had to stay an extra couple of days because I was still out of body, that I wasn't able to drive like the 7.5 hours back north.
Yeah,
I don't think I would have made it. I probably would have died off the mountain in New York.
there's no way you would have made it. There's no way. No.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, so we're still recovering from that. And that was what, 3 weeks ago? About 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, about or halfway, like 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
2.5.
The recovery was long and we kept getting more symptoms as it went on. Like we both
Mhm.
lost our taste and our smell.
I
Like,
lost mine at 100%.
yeah, I lost mine at 100% briefly, and then it slowly started coming back. I got the message in, that subliminal space to take monoatomic gold, because monoatomic gold will help to repair whatever damage they did to the etheric body. So I started taking that like right away.
Mhm. How's Coco? Is okay?
Yeah.
He's running. Okay.
Okay, go.
Yeah. So we were taking that, and then yeah, I lost actually I lost my taste and smell only like the day after I came back to
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah. Same. I think the day you left, I lost mine. Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
I complained every day
Yeah.
because I love eating. So I was like, I have no reason to be here, really. I go, the only thing I have left to live for here in Canada, apart from the kids, is eating. And I can't even have that.
So we didn't get tested. Yeah, we didn't get tested for the plague, but I guarantee you if we would have been tested, it would have been positive. For sure. So before any of this happened, I had been suspecting that the plague was being caused by spiritual attacks. Specifically a client and friend of ours who was really hardcore attacked. We did her clearing and we saw that the physical symptoms she was having were being caused by spiritual attacks. So this was really a confirmation for us that the symptoms, at least some people that are exhibiting the symptoms of the plague are, is a result of spiritual attacks and or abduction. Because what we saw when we went back and viewed it later was that they did take our astral bodies to this space, looked like a spaceship on the inside. It was round. It was there were blue and white lights, like real bright lights. And it was very technological feeling. Like it was very cold, sterile environment. And again, when I was viewing it, I saw us on these like cold metal tables. And they had at least my legs tied down to the table and your legs tied down to the table. And we were in a lot of fear. Now I didn't feel that fear in my physical self. Like when I was laying in the bed and this was happening to me, I didn't feel the fear. I wasn't afraid of them at all. I was just like, get the fuck off of me. What are you doing? But my astral self was feeling fear. I don't know how that works, but that's what I saw.
felt like my body was in fear. That's probably why I was paralyzed or I was out of body. I don't know what, but I feel sometimes it could be maybe combination of both. But I had to like will myself. I don't know if I willed my astral back in and then because I was gonna go knock someone out.
Right. Well, I think that's what causes the paralysis too, is when the astral body is not anchored in the physical body, the body can't move without without the energy body. So I think that's partially what causes the paralysis feeling too. Because
Yeah.
that's what I was feeling when I went back and viewed it. Like we couldn't move because our energy bodies weren't in our physical bodies. They were somewhere else. That's what's causing the paralysis, the feeling of paralysis. because I was trying to move, but I couldn't, but I wasn't afraid. That wasn't
Mhm.
the case for me. But I felt like,
I think I was afraid because of the possibility of something being physical in the room. Like what
yeah,
I was
same here.
seeing, I was like, oh my God, this is it. I go, this is it. I go, if I'm not scared of this, then I could go to 5D, no problem with these guys. Oh, like, come on.
Yeah, that was really brave of you to walk in that room.
Yeah, because I remember I pushed the door and you got startled. You're like, ah! And it scared me. I was like, looking, there's
Yeah.
nothing there. So, oh God.
Yeah. So when we went back last night and reviewed it, I did see the tall gray. The tall gray seemed to be in charge of the whole operation, and he was the one that injected us. There was also the reptilian I felt was actually still attached to me, to my left side. As soon
Mhm.
as I told it to get the fuck off of me, I felt the energy of it leave. It's just so interesting to me how that happens. Um,
Yeah, you
and
get
I,
lighter.
yeah,
Mhm.
and the fact that they even listen to you, you know, like that is always, um, yeah, I'm just always kind of mesmerized that they even listen to us, but they do, because the only reason that they can attach is when we're not in our power. There's something that is allowing them to hook in. And for me, it was a combination of things, but we'll get to that. Um, what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, there was the tall gray, the reptilian, and there were a couple small grays present too.
Mhm.
Oh, and a mantis being.
God, when you weren't looking at the camera, the whole thing went gray.
Yeah, there's like major frequencies coming through right now. I was just telling Karen before we logged on, like I've been buzzed like by helicopters too. Like yesterday, two helicopters flew right over my head. I mean, not next to me, not down the street, literally right over my head. And right before we logged on for this video, another helicopter right over my head. So I don't know what any of that means, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying before? I was just kind of startled by that
Well,
shock thing, frequency thing. I
what
never
was I?
seen it take over the whole screen like that.
I was just talking about the helicopters.
No, before that, before we talked about frequencies.
Oh, just
Oh, when you
the
remote viewed it.
beings that were in the room. Yeah,
Mhm.
and so they injected us with some kind of poison, some kind of venom. What came through was that it was like snail venom, some kind of snail venom. Um, and it was like a yellow substance that when they injected it, it went through the whole body and caused this huge reaction in the body. So that's why the body was super hot. Also, because when your astral body or energy body is in that space, it's being irradiated with radiation, just being in the presence of these beings alone. So it's the actual ship itself or whatever that space is, and being in the presence of these beings. Yeah, the body gets irradiated, which is why you lose the the taste and smell, because the olfactory nerve is being affected in that way.
Yeah,
So
and that's what you were saying about like us getting radiated via the, I guess when we were in the ship, right?
yeah, in the ship
Was there a lot?
by the ship itself, and the beings themselves, they're giving off some kind of radiation.
Mhm.
I don't know, it's really weird. Um, but yeah, that was wild. Um, now, do I think that everybody that has plague symptoms that this happens to? Not necessarily, but I think it's happening a lot more than we're aware of. And I think the only reason why we have the awareness of it is because we happen to wake up during it, you know? And
Yes.
I'm sure if most normal people, if they were to wake up during something like that, would just pass it off as a dream.
Yeah,
or I had,
because like those Kit Kats were really fast at like blocking my memory. The only reason why I stayed awake or willed myself awake was because I heard you say no right after I saw that there are grays in the room or the gray in the reptile.
right, right. So
So I thought that was very coincidental and timely. That's the
mhm,
only reason why I stayed up. If not, I would have probably fallen back asleep and just had my memory wiped.
right. I never thought about it again.
Mm-mm.
Because you were already kind of getting symptoms before that happened, but I have felt completely fine,
Yeah,
so I know that that attack is what caused those symptoms.
yeah.
Yeah. And so when I was viewing the ship again, I saw them using some kind of scanner on you.
A scanner, yeah, that was the word you used.
Yeah. It had this like blue light, like the metaverse light. Like when we talk about
Mm-hmm.
the metaverse, like that blue kind of technology, the blue light that you kind of associate with technology, that's the kind of light that was coming out of it. And it was meant to wipe those memories. And it was also inducing like a trance state.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
See, these are things you don't really think about. It's like, again, because I was sick, you're not in body, you're kind of like, your body's fighting off something or whatever. And then they can just give you just a little more medicine just to shh. You didn't see us. You didn't hear nothing.
Yeah.
I think maybe too that, like they took away our scent so that we couldn't smell them. That was another indication that they were here too. I didn't even think of that till I just said that.
Yes, you're right. And I was smelling them. Was it that next night or it was around that time. I remember. Yeah, it was the next night because I jumped right up out of bed and started clearing the space.
Oh, yes, I remember that. It
Yeah.
could have been me too because we also didn't bathe for a couple days. Just kidding. So bad. It was already like hard enough just to change, my underwear. I was like, oh God, it hurts.
Yeah. The body hurts so
It
bad.
was so bad. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Oh, Kit Kat doesn't have a dash anymore? That's shocking.
I just want to scroll through the comments real quick.
Yeah.
Abstract says, I had a weird dream recently with the scrolling text type thoughts. I honestly think dreams are things planted into us quite often. I don't think it was my mind conjuring it up. Yeah.
I think it's both. Like
Yeah.
we do have like things where they do take advantage of our subconscious. There's also the other part too, like where your subconscious is coming out. I have actively asked for my subconscious to come out consciously so I could know what's going on and what's hidden in there so that they can't use it against me when I die. That was the whole purpose of that.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I could see how it could be both. I mean, if you're not actively healing yourself, for example, and if you're a great target, you have a lot of trauma in there or things that you've suppressed along the years that you've hidden in your subconscious or whatever. Definitely. I think that they'll take your dreams too. They'll activate nightmares or press your trigger points, trauma points, whatever, and to feed off of you in that way too. Because I mean, that's something that they would do, these
Mhm.
energies, these dark energies, because like they're so weak that they have to attack you in your dreams.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you can use that as an opportunity to address those access points because that's how they're accessing you. So let's talk
Mhm.
about how this attack happened. So not only were we weakened by the concert and drinking the death water and that kind of thing, for me personally, I had a session that week that I think I talked about in one of our last videos where my inner child was triggered.
Yeah.
So my inner child was out big time. And that was one of the ways that they were able to gain access, because not only was there like this big crack in our arc field, but
Mhm.
my inner child was very much present and in the forefront at the time, which they totally took advantage of. And what came through when we viewed it was that they were waiting for an opportunity. They were waiting for an access point so that they could threaten and intimidate us.
I bet my inner child was there too. She's probably like, "Who's that? Who's there? Who's that?" Came out.
Yeah, because we had Amanda did a clearing for us a few days after this incident, and
Yeah.
she noted that um, the access point was, so apparently this kind of abduction type scenario had happened to me as a child, and when I was, which I had always suspected, but I never actually regressed to see those things.
Mhm.
I've suspected it because I had stage 4 endometriosis at 13 years old, so there was all this kind of stuff going on in my womb. And what came through in viewing it again and regressing back to it was that, yes, my inner child was present as like an access point. And also the first time that an abduction scenario like this happened was at 6 years old,
6. Yeah.
which and that was, they, in a way, they were preparing me for the hybridization program. And it was just so interesting how all of these things came together, because last night before we did that session for ourselves, we had a session for our 7-year-old client from New Zealand who was being abducted in the past, who we did clearings for, and
She's doing, yeah. She's doing
cleared
a lot better
her.
after
She's
that.
doing really well after that. And we saw that she had this kind of overlay in her body that they had placed there almost as a way to prep her for future abductions, for when she came into puberty, and they would start the hybrid program with her then. So in our session, that's what I saw. Like, they had started when I was 6 years old, kind of prepping me for that.
Yeah,
Um,
because you got your endometriosis at 13.
right.
So it was like years before that they do all that shit. It's kind of like setting the stage very slowly, like putting in their like decorations and, you know, age comes, puberty hits, and then it's like bam.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's really interesting too, because all of this stuff has come up in group about Peter Whitley or Whiteley, I think his name is. Someone posted his I think he had an NDE, and then he did like 40 trips, astral travels to meet with the Greys and the Mantids. And they were pretty much talking about themselves as the keepers of humanity, the keepers of the garden,
Mhm.
the keepers of the garden, us being the garden, right? So what they told him basically was that they were in charge of helping our souls grow after death. So what you said there about the NDE's abstract coincides with what they were saying.
Totally.
Because also I saw another NDE that was really interesting. Oh my God, what was his name? Brian Melvins NDE. Brian Melvins. He went to hell in his NDE, but there was some tricky energies at play there. He did see crocodile-like beings or alligator-like beings, or lizard type beings,
Hmm.
along with the typical like demonic entities. And he did say when he initially got there, they were posing as his family members. But
Hmm.
very soon after, they started to shift, and he started to see their true form, and they kind of took him on this tour through hell. So one of the true forms that he saw was a reptilian being, and in hell there were these cubes, and in each cube was a person, and when the person, so he saw the people landing in this space through a vortex, through a portal. They would die, come into this space, land here, be greeted by their loved ones, and taken into this cube. This cube was a representation of whatever was beautiful and good to them. So the one lady went to her grandma's farm and she met with her grandma, and it was just this, beautiful place where she loved and wanted to be, and this was heaven and all of those things. Meanwhile, he's viewing it knowing that that's not really her grandma, that's like some demon or reptile, and watching as the scene changes from like this heavenly like place to more of like a hellish like realm, as she's trapped there in this space. Yeah, it was just crazy. I would suggest you guys to check that out. And I'd like to know your thoughts on it because it was really interesting.
I mean, okay, let's say you pass away, okay, and you see your mom and dad. Like, are you just gonna give them a high five and go, see ya? Like,
no, because I think I will have enough discernment, awareness, and consciousness to be able to know the difference in their frequency. I don't think I'll be able to be tricked by a demon pretending to be my mom or dad. What do you think?
Well, I'm not good with dreams, so I mean, like, I'm just judging based on my dreams and how I'm unable to have lucid dreaming. So I could probably be tricked.
You think?
Well, I don't know, because like there's part of me that does feel conscious, but then it's not able to transition in the dream, where I could be lucid.
Right. But when you leave the body, you're going to have you'll have access to more awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna clear out when I need to. So by the time I go, hopefully it'll be enough.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. We just have to keep healing and clearing. So after that abduction experience, my inner child was so triggered and present. And so these kinds of things weren't just happening to us. They were happening to a lot of people around us, a lot of people that we know, that there were things happening. I was doing some research on schizophrenia and saw that, which is really interesting to me, that their episodes of psychosis happen mostly around season changes, but not just seasonal changes, specifically in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's usually when I get sick, around the harvest moon. Like,
right. Exactly.
Coincidental people.
So is that coincidental, or are these attacks happening then and creating that sickness? When we both look back at our childhoods, we see that we were sick often. We spent a lot of our time as children sick.
Yeah, I was sick a lot. Really weird stuff too. Ear infections, like hardcore nosebleeds, fever for days, but like really bad fevers, like where I was like so delusional and watching the TV that I was going in the TV.
Right.
Like a lot of weird shit.
Right. And we know you have a history of abduction too. So I wonder if those illnesses were being caused by those attacks and abductions.
Right. Yeah, it could very well
the
be. I wouldn't even
nosebleeds.
know. Yeah, I would have a lot of those nosebleeds.
Yeah, because they can be caused by radiation too.
Right. Remember that happened too to my son, Buggy? Was it like him where I was thinking about something? I don't know. And then his nose started bleeding. Or I
Yes.
knew. I forgot what happened there, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Even my daughter too, she'll get like random nosebleeds, like for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it really is true that all of our problems and issues here really do begin in the spiritual realm, more so than we know. And it's kind of like we're crippled because we don't have the access, we can only see 1% of the electromagnetic frequencies
Mm.
here.
Mhm.
99% we don't have access to. And
Yeah.
obviously that's by design, but yeah, I mean, the people that are really, really, really sensitive, they do have the awareness, but most people just call them crazy. Like, I'm sure if a normal person watched this video, they'd probably think we're crazy, like.
Well, maybe we are. Whatever. I don't know.
Maybe we are.
Maybe we are. Cece wants to know what the hybrid program is.
Oh, the hybrid program. Well, these beings, mostly reptilian and the grays, are taking DNA from humans to merge and blend with their own DNA, to create hybrid children. To then, I think their goal with that is to create physical vessels that can house a soul. I think that's what their ultimate goal is there, but I don't know enough about it. But that's what my intuition says. Like, they can't inhabit, they don't have souls themselves.
Okay.
I need to let them out. He's crying. They don't have souls themselves, which is why they're always trying to take over human bodies. Because it's like this, for some reason, the soul and its memories are very interesting to them. Maybe because they don't have one or whatever, but they're always trying to manipulate humans and the soul for some reason. Yeah. So it's an attempt by them to create hybrid children. Let me let Coco out.
Like fabuloso. Oh, Lisa, so you had to go get your nose cauterized. Well, I bled so bad one time that it bled through the mattress. My parents didn't bring me to the doctor for that, so you just kind of had to deal and try all the tricks, like pinching up here and putting your nose up and putting your nose down, and yeah, they didn't bring me to the hospital for that. I remember though being like going to the emergency room a lot as a child, not for nosebleeds, but probably for ear infections or whatnot. But apart from that, no, we didn't go to the hospital. Denial, denial, denial too. Let's see what else. How has everyone been doing in the last month? Oh, yeah, don't worry, abstract. You just kind of deal. Thankfully, I mean, like, with now that like you also know that the hospital setting is very botched and backwards. I'm grateful that we actually have the ability to do energy work, because a lot of it is energy that we can do healing instead of having to go to a broken satanic system. Let's say.
Yeah. Lisa, you had nosebleeds too?
So did abstract.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still have like a cough that's going on. I think my scent and taste is back, maybe. Like, it gets better every day, but it's still not 100%.
Yeah. I feel a lot better. So I was saying that my inner child was like super triggered. And I remember in my session, with a colleague a few weeks before this had happened, my inner child came through really strongly. And she had asked me, because we were reflecting on my childhood. And up until a few years ago, I would have told you that my childhood was completely fine and normal and everything was great, but when you really go back and look, it wasn't. It was super chaotic. I was anxious all the time. I had no emotional support. There was abuse in the home. It was just a clusterfuck of shit. Parents that were traumatized themselves, that were using drugs and, pharmaceuticals to cope and all of those things. But that was normal, and that is normal for us because that's all we know. That becomes our normal. But my inner child was very much coming forward. She was still very much in a frightened state. And I think that was partially what allowed for the invasion. And after that abduction experience, so my colleague had asked me, how did you cope? How did you deal with all of this? And I really had never thought about that before.
Yeah, how did you deal?
I just did. We just do.
You couldn't just go with it.
And I was like, I don't know. Like, did I dissociate? I don't think I did. But then I realized, like, I definitely used food as a coping mechanism. That was my major thing, was food.
Sounds like me today.
Yeah. Oh, I still use food too, not in the ways that I used to then, in a really, really unhealthy way. But yeah, I discovered that obviously dissociation was another way that I was coping, without realizing, and just realizing the depth of my sensitivity and how there's like layers to our coping, and just discovering the new layers, because for weeks, like 2 full weeks, I was really unable to ground in my body. Like my legs were always numb. Yeah, and that's just, it's such an awful feeling when you're unable to fully ground into the body. And I also had a visitor at that time who had his own attachments, and that was a whole other thing that was going on simultaneously. A family member who has also experienced a lot of spiritual attack and was under attack at the time that he was here, but also wasn't well enough to really face any of it. So it was kind of just going.
That's tough. I mean, like, to see and not be able to help, but know that you could help, or at least to assist in some way. But if they're not open, that sucks.
Yeah.
So Lana's here. Hi, Lana.
Hi, Lana.
Yeah. I thought my upbringing too was normal. I mean, it just felt as if I was the one who's abnormal. Like, I knew that whatever they wanted to do, I didn't want to do. I didn't want to take part. I just wanted to stay home, where I knew I was relatively safe. But yeah, it always felt like it was me. So just like what Abstract's saying about his 2 other sisters, that they didn't have any health issues or things like that. Mine either. They didn't. It was always me. There's always something wrong with me physically. And I mean, I can't talk about like topics like this with them. This is like
way out there.
Whoa. Like loony bin out there, like, and they would probably commit me. No, they know like where I'm at, like in the sense of like I'm out there, so I don't even bother. I mean, you got to choose your battles. Like, am I going to talk about this? No, probably not. We'll just talk about like regular 3D stuff, and I'm fine with that. Yeah, sometimes they make one child the scapegoat or black sheep. Well, I was the black sheep. I wouldn't say that I was the one who got in trouble all the time. although I was emotionally, like, I would cry a lot, or like in the early years, but I became like, yeah, rebellious, angry. I was definitely possessed in my teens, totally possessed. I was just looking, I was telling Tina like before, like today's like Canadian Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving abstract. Um, so I was over at my parents' house and clearing out some things, like some of my old things, and looking at old pictures, and I saw some pictures of myself when I was a teenager, and holy shit. You couldn't even recognize my eyes. I really wanted to take a picture, but there's just so much stuff to look at, and I wanted to get the hell out of there to go home. But yeah, it's crazy to like see yourself like after. I even forgot that I even took those pictures. And
Well,
it's
it's
yeah.
interesting you're talking about like the past because this whole scenario has been wrapped up in this weird time warp that we've been
Oh yeah.
experiencing
Right.
since the day of the concert started this, it kicked off this whole time warp into the past. It was crazy. So,
Yes.
back in my late teens and through my 20s, like my life was
Mhm.
going to concerts with my friends, specifically Pearl Jam and, other bands. And I haven't been to one probably since like 2008. So going to the Pearl Jam concert, it like kicked off this time warp where I literally felt like I was in the past. Like it was just the weirdest thing. It was so weird. Like all the people, just the environment, the music, the everything. And then
It's like
that's
everybody stays the same. They
yeah,
just look a little older, but then
yes,
like mentally the fucking same. And you are
yes.
just so far out there that you're observing it in a different space. I was feeling you, just like how everybody was talking and observing how they're talking and what they're talking about. And I'm like, man, well, I mean, I recognize it. It's in my family. It's in my close friends. Like, well, I mean, my friends, like my circle of
Mhm,
like old childhood friends. Same
mhm,
thing.
mhm.
Just like, God, can we talk about
Yeah,
something else?
yeah, yeah. It was so,
We're still talking about that.
yeah. No, yeah, it was so strange, but
We're still gossiping about Nancy. Like it's been 30 years.
right. Yeah, exactly like that. And it was interesting too. So on that day, we had to go into this bar to use the bathroom. And you said you ran into this like agent type person, right? Like as you were walking up the steps.
I felt like we talked about this. Did we talk about this with someone?
I think we might have talked about it in the previous video, but it's
No. The
relevant
last
to
video was you.
the one before that.
The agent lady was at the concert.
I think, I don't know.
I don't know what's happening.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I don't
saw like
know.
a weird time warp of the time stopping, where time literally paused. Everybody stopped moving. Tina's behind me, she stopped moving. Like, and there we were going up these three stairs, and there was three people going down the stairs, and the middle lady was wearing like a trench, I don't know what it was, like a trench coat. She had like sunglasses on, but she and I were the only ones who could move, and she just like looked right at me. And the moment our eyes made eye contact, the time came back on again. And I was like, what just happened? Like,
And then we walk into the bathroom. We had another friend with us, and she disappears. We go into the bathroom. It literally felt like we were in there for an hour. We come out, our friend is completely gone. She's already back at the site.
I know
And I'm like, wait
how
a
long were
minute.
we in that stall? I don't know how long we were in that stall for. It felt so
I
long.
felt so long. It
I
had to
don't,
be long if she was already back at the site,
yeah, we were
because
in the
that was a
stall for
long
like
walk.
45 minutes.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it was so strange.
It was really strange. But I mean, like it was probably long in real time, but when we were there, it felt already long as it was, but maybe like 10 minutes less, that's 7 minutes. Like
I don't know.
It was like it was like Hangover almost, you know?
It was strange. And then the past kept coming up. It was weird. And I actually talked about this in the last video about the end of us, like cycles, like the end of, like patterns, or it felt like something like the end of what word did I use? It wasn't pattern. It was something else. I can't remember, but
Yeah, abstract. He's saying like Doctor Who time travel bathroom stall. Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like. I don't even know what the fuck was happening in there.
Yeah, that was really weird.
It was really weird. But yeah, the other day, like after that, so that was like the kickoff of this weird time thing. Like I think we were in a continuum of some sort. I don't know what. And Tina had to go get a haircut because we are getting our photo shoot on the Sunday. So we went to like a salon that was just like down the street. It's like there's a laundromat like next door to it. It felt very old, very retro space. And so we go into the salon and I don't know what it was. Did you feel like the colors were also very retro, like the whole, like the filtering of it? It's kind of like how I was saying, when you go into America, it's so colorful, but when you come back to Canada, it's bland. Like there's a color filter over it. So anyway, it felt the same in that salon. The lady looked like she was from the 80s. Yeah. So I'm like, are you sure you want to get a haircut here? And then there was a TV on, and we looked at the TV and Murder, She Wrote's on. Like, I don't know what was happening. She was like, I don't know. I was trying to fiddle with the channel, and this is the only thing that like I could find or that was there. I'm like, Murder, She Wrote? Really? Like, that's still playing? So weird. I think she was confused too because she was like, how the hell do they know about Murder, She Wrote?
Yeah, the next day. So she didn't have any openings that day. So we went back the next day. And she's like, I was so confused. She's like, I was telling the girl, she's like, I don't know how these two young girls knew about Murder, She Wrote. She's like, how old are you guys? I'm like, 45.
I know.
She's like, no way. She's like, I wouldn't have thought you were over like 30. I was like, wow, well, thanks.
Yeah.
So she's like, what did she put on that day? Because she knew we were coming back.
Well, I Dream of Jeannie. It wasn't any better. I was already feeling not so well there. Because even that day that she got her haircut, she was even telling me, she's like, hey, just stay home. It's okay. I'm going to go. I'll come back. And I'm like, not all there. I'm like, no, I'm going to come. I'll support you. Through your haircut. Not there. Woo! Just trying to be supportive. Then we go to the salon. She goes in. I sit down. There's National Enquirer there. Like, I haven't seen a National Enquirer since the damn 80s. Like, so the whole setup was just so weird. So I read one, of course, because I'm like, something bit me over there. There was like these robotic bugs too that I noticed. It was just the way it was gliding. It wasn't flying, gliding. And then it went on my fucking big toe and bit me, a motherfucker. So I was like, what is happening? And I slapped it. But yeah, there was some weird shit going on just that whole time. Because then I went to the Acme supermarket after we got home. And I don't even know how long I was there for. I felt like I was in a time portal, grocery shopping. Because by the time I came back to the apartment, you had already cleaned the whole apartment.
Yeah, like, you were gone for a long time.
Pick and span. I'm like, I don't know how long I was gone. I don't know where the hell I was. I think I went through a portal. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, I hope this American cheese is still good. Because of how long I was there.
Yeah, you were gone for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really interesting. And that time warp, it just kept going and going and going. And there's all these like weird time things that were happening. And what was interesting too was the mantis The praying mantises left. I think the
After-
day after our abduction, they were gone.
Yes.
Yeah. And so during this time warp, there was a lot of things from the past that were coming up. It really was like the end of a cycle. Like it was like things were tying up, you know, like loose ends were being tied up. But it just makes me think about the cycles that happen here on Earth and why things are cyclical and keep coming back around and around and around again, you know, and the spiral. The spiral.
Yeah, the spiral. That's probably why things get lost in the Mandela effect too, like creating that.
Mhm.
There's just so many things that are just getting thrown in the damn blender, the time blender. You don't know, whatever comes out is what you get. You get what you get, and you don't get upset.
Yeah, because the spiral is coming up a lot over and over again. And yeah, definitely feels like the end of a cycle. And it's not over yet. It's not over yet. Like it feels like it's waning. And then the new cycle will start sometime after Halloween. That's what it feels like.
Great. Yeah, because Halloween's a big portal too.
Right.
Or whatever. A lot of weird
Yeah.
energy. So just be sure to protect yourselves, everybody, us included. I mean, everybody. Intention to put a energetic boundary up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we really haven't had the energy to even to come on YouTube to connect with you guys. We've really just been trying to heal ourselves and hold down the fort. Like,
Yeah.
it
was highly suggested also to stay, like, get off YouTube for a little bit, like just to let ourselves recover in case that there were also psychic attacks going on. But it's just, again, we had to preserve ourselves so that we could come back into health, because we didn't know at that point where it was coming from. We didn't know what was happening or whatever. So yeah. And like we were so sick that we didn't even work for the 2 weeks. Like we just couldn't. I was like, there's just no way. I cannot connect and do anything.
That was the first time we like couldn't actually work. Like it was
because
bad.
of our health. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like for that long. I mean,
Right.
sometimes like we time and then it'll be like, okay. But
Yeah.
that was really long.
So what I also wanted to mention too is along with Pete Whitley, his information on the Greys triggered a memory for me of Dolores Cannon's book called Keepers of the Garden, which is about, I'm pretty sure it's about the Greys. It's very interesting. So I went and downloaded that book because I thought, even though like I know this information is distorted in some way, it's still valuable to kind of piece through and see where they're coming from, right? So it's interesting to see. So she's working with this client named, I think his name is Phil in the book, and he starts out visiting normal lives. He eventually goes into these other lives on other planets and talking to aliens and things like that. And it's interesting to see, I'm only like a chapter or two in, but it's interesting to see the progression of how the information is coming through in the regressions, because the beings they start talking in we and us, and they become very much condescending to Dolores and that big gray spot.
No, you didn't see the other one. It blocked the entire screen.
Yeah, I bet. Very condescending in the way they were speaking to her, as if, you know, your little human brain couldn't possibly comprehend these big concepts. You know, they also will just flat out refuse to share information. Like when she asked what they actually looked like, they refused to share. The only thing they shared was what they were wearing. I'm like, well, what does that tell us? Nothing.
It's like I'm wearing a brooch.
But Phil said when he came out that they were gray. And that was the only thing that he said or remembered after coming out of the session. So she basically used him as like a channel for these beings to speak through. And they're basically saying the same thing in that book that Pete was saying from his astral projections with the grays and mantids, that we are the garden and they are the keepers of the garden. They're here to help our souls grow, to assist us in transitioning in the afterlife and things like that. But if you guys want to get a deeper understanding, I would definitely recommend checking that book out, and checking out Pete. I don't know if it's Whitley or Whiteley. But I'll link those down in the comments. Let me just write a note for myself.
I like that you do that.
I think he has an interview on Jeff Mara's podcast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, just a note for everybody. Our 20% coupon is expiring in 5 days.
Oh.
So if you still want to take advantage of that offer, you can. And yeah, you can email us at quantumhealingwithtina, TNA @gmail.com for any inquiries.
Yeah. Interesting energies that have been coming through our sessions too. The big energies that have been coming through are the distorted masculine energy and the distorted feminine energy. So, and that comes through usually the distorted masculine energy will come through as reptilian, and the distorted feminine energy will come through as like a Lilith type energy. And when
Like
we saw
octopus. Depends.
octopus or
she
spider,
yeah,
yeah.
Octopus, spider, and male is reptilian and or beetle.
And interesting, I saw a spider right before we logged on. Not only did the helicopter buzz me, but the spider was hanging out in my bathroom. So they don't like us talking about them. I mean, the whole reason for that abduction scenario was to threaten and intimidate us to not do this work, which is partially also, as yes, we were recovering, but also just laying low, staying out of the target area,
Oh, and just to say, Tina, I have never seen a spider in Tina's place as much as I have in the last month or whatever. Like in the how many years that you've been at that apartment, there's never been a spider ever. So just to say, and
except
then all
for
of
the
a
one
sudden,
that fell on my head.
the one that fell on your head, that was a really big one. The one that crawled on me when I was sitting on the floor doing the laundry, remember? I felt something funny under my leg. I look and it's a fucking spider.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you seeing that there's one like in the bathroom or whatever. I saw one too in the bathroom too. Like it was all within the same amount of time. And it's not.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
During the time of the feminine energy.
Yes. Yes. So that feminine energy is still kind of waning.
Lingering.
And
yeah,
she came through in a BQH session the other day, and what the client saw was there was an aspect of her soul that was trapped in this realm of like sexual debauchery. Like it was just like reptilians and the dark feminine who, the dark feminine thinks that she is
in control.
She thinks that she is empowered, but she's really a prisoner and a slave to the dark masculine in the way that she gives of herself and uses her energy, her sexual prowess to manipulate and coerce. And she's very sneaky and sly and conniving in the way that she does those things. So in her mind, it's like the mind plays tricks on you, right? Because in her mind, she thinks that makes her empowered, that makes her free. But in reality, she's really imprisoned by that. It's a really sad existence to live. And same with the masculine. So that's what we saw in that session. And the client was able to call back her energy out of that after having this realization of what was actually happening. So that was really cool to see. You know, and I wanted to talk about attachments too, and how these energies can work through people. So, you know, most of us have some kind of trauma. If you live here, I'm sorry. If you live on Earth, you're traumatized, right? I mean, that just comes with
That comes
territory.
with, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a package deal. When you're like on the conveyor belt, they're like handing out the pamphlets and they're like, here you go, here's your tickets and coupons for trauma.
It's literally like that. That's literally like when you're signing up, it's interesting because I watched an NDE where this woman had to pick something bad that she wanted to happen to her. And I think she picked like a broken arm or something, and the guide was upset that she didn't pick something more substantial. She just picked a broken arm. So yeah, it really is like that.
She's like, okay, just add like angry mom. Okay, gotcha. That's what, now we're talking.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the way these reptilian, especially attachments, can work through you, you know, you might be having the visions of and dreams and stuff of what's actually happening to you, but they will instill so much doubt.
Mm-hmm. That's
They
a good
will,
word.
yeah, they will tell you that you're just making it up, that it's not real, and all of those things. So the more doubt they can instill within you, the longer they get to stay and continue to siphon your energy.
Mhm.
So if you are having experiences, psychic experiences, if say you're seeing astral spiders in your field, or you're having dreams about reptilians, know that those things are very real and they're really happening to you, whether that's a physical or energetic infringement, they're happening. And, you know, you can have, do the work to clear them through sessions. Know that they will also instill that fear within you, that you need to fear them in some way. And know that that fear is really not yours. They're implanting that energy within you to make you feel that way so that you never address that, you know, that reptilian that's attached to you. But once you remove, like, fear is just an energy. Once you remove that energy from your body and place it, you know, in the fire, or just take it out of you, and you command that reptilian to stand in front of you, 100% of the time, that attachment, that reptile, will shrink down and become like, yeah, little itty bitty in size. So they're not really as strong and powerful as they pretend to be. They're only as strong and powerful because we're giving them the permission to do so.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. We're giving them the power through our fear to be strong and powerful, but they're really not. It depends on your perception, right? So if you're viewing them through the lens of a low frequency, like fear, they're going to look big and strong and more powerful than you. But if you work through that fear, get rid of that fear and raise your frequency, they're going to shrink down and look tiny and insignificant. So
Definitely.
yeah, 100% of the time, that's what we see. So don't be afraid to face off with them, and to clear them from your field.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hello, born and reborn. Good to see you here again.
Thanks. Good to be back. Hi, Happy Joy. Any questions? Sam says she was a tie-dye sheep. That's what I say. It was more like a tie-dye sheep. No, but we did have a black sheep in our family. In our family, it was the middle child was the black sheep. Yeah, I was more the tie-dye sheep. I think
That's probably why I wore black a lot. I've only learned how to be the tie-dye or the color whatever since I've been with Tina. So she's the tie-dye sheep, has brought some color into the black sheep.
Yeah. Mm. Glennis says, I never felt like I fit in. I was able to read people and become a chameleon to fit in. I don't remember most of my childhood. I do remember waking up with horrible dreams of spiders attacking me as a child. It lasted a while. That is such a common experience, Glennis. Same here. I mean, same. Like,
Yeah.
not feeling like you fit in.
Check.
Being able to read people, and the reason usually why we're able to read people is because we're constantly scanning the environment, walking on eggshells and trying to create safety for ourselves. So the way we're able to be chameleon-like is to blend in and give people exactly what they need so that they don't lash out at us.
I was not a good chameleon. I mean, you saw what I looked like. I was so awkward looking.
Yeah.
Socially awkward. And yeah, no, I was not good at that. I think you can tell like the contrast between you and I in terms of like your Earth experience and mine.
Yeah.
I wish I was able to
But
blend.
when you do that, when you are a chameleon, like you lose your sense of self,
Yeah.
so you,
I guess I was consistently an asshole until I got enmeshed in my relationship, and then I lost myself there.
yeah. Yeah. It really is a coping mechanism that remains a coping mechanism until we heal ourselves and kind of make that our superpower. We can take those things and turn them around and use them to our advantage. But usually they're coping mechanisms for the trauma that we're experiencing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not remembering your childhood is because you're dissociating all the time. You're leaving the body and creating separate parts to hold those traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam, the concert was really good. It was really good. I have to say, like the only thing that came from that week apart, that was the concert. The music was great. Yeah. It was an outdoor concert, so I mean, like you kind of had to find a place. That was really difficult, just being in a sea of people. But thankfully, Tia and I decided to go for a little walk around, and we found a perfect spot for us.
Yeah.
It sucked because we couldn't stick around with like the friends that we came with or whatever, but it's all good. Just met up with them after.
Yeah. And the seeing of spiders too. I can't tell you how many people we've talked to that have seen spiders as children. That is one of the number one things that we hear. For me, I used to wake up and see them crawling on my ceiling. Like I know they weren't there physically, but like I remember hiding under my covers all the time. Just being so fearful at nighttime.
Yeah. It's like one crawled at my leg while I was in the bathroom on the toilet when I was a kid. That was terrible.
Like for real?
Yeah, a real one. Like what? How does that happen? And how long was I there that it would crawl up my leg? Was it dissociated on the toilet bowl?
Yeah, the concert was amazing. Was it worth it? That's a different question.
I think that's why we kind of like went all out. I'm like, let's go buy the sweatshirts. Like, we may never do this again. Like,
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. I'm like, let's just, oh yeah. And the other weird thing too was that we parked in a parking lot and my car lights were on.
Yeah.
And they weren't on when I left, but it felt, I don't know. That was just, the whole thing was weird.
There's no way they could have been on when we left.
No, because the battery would have been dead by the time we would have gotten there.
Right. And you would have heard like the loud dinging, like when you shut the door.
Yeah.
And there was no reason for the lights to be on in the first place. I wouldn't have turned the lights on. It was broad daylight out.
Yeah. But even if they were on, they wouldn't have been on because the car wasn't on.
They would have turned off, right?
Yeah, the lights would have been off because the car was off, but they were on.
I know.
It's impossible. That has never happened before.
And it's interesting because I was just watching videos on TikTok or something about like traffickers that mark cars for like young women.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that on
Remember?
the way home, and I'm like, well, that's not a feel good story in the dark.
No,
Like,
it's not, but
in
people
Camden, New Jersey. I don't.
right, no. Yeah, where we were in Camden. Yeah. Not a good place to be. But yeah, so what they do is they put like what are those ties called? Zip ties,
Zip ties, yeah.
like on like the
The wheel?
passenger side door,
A door.
the
Okay.
door handle, or other like markings that they can put on your car without you really noticing. And they have some kind of, Apple has some kind of trackers. I forget what they're called, but they sell these trackers that people can just like pop on your car and then track you wherever.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
People need to get a fucking life.
So
remember I was saying that about the entities. I'm like, they need to get a life.
yeah. So what they were saying was that if you ever come out and notice something like that on your car, like a zip tie or something, they said don't stop to remove it or do anything about it. Just get in the car and go home and then remove it later. Yeah.
Right.
Sam says she had spiders in her room as a kid. I'd wake up to use the bathroom and there would be one on the wall in the same spot every night. Lisa remembers everything from her childhood, even being in diapers. That's interesting.
Wow. So you're like the opposite. I remember shit. I blocked it all out.
Me too.
Blocked it all out. I dissociated too a lot, Lisa, but yeah, I was gone all the time. No thanks.
That's interesting though, Lisa, that you dissociate, but you remember everything.
Or do you?
They were. I just had a thought come in and go. It's like,
Yeah, right when you lost your thought, I heard this like massive frequency in my head.
Okay, maybe it's time to go.
Yeah, maybe. I feel a ball here in my hand. I don't know it physically there. I don't know what it is. I have to tune in. Or if you could tune in later for me, that would be great.
Okay.
Please.
Sure.
If there's nothing else, if you guys could just do us a tiny favor and like the video, that would be great. Or if you have questions, please can ask us right now. If not, we're just gonna wrap it up because yeah, I'm not really too fond of watching these like gray lines go on your screen all the time. I don't like it. Yeah. Let's be silent.
Yeah.
Jeopardy.
I hear the Jeopardy song.
Me too. Yeah, I guess we'll just see how it goes. We appreciate you all for checking in and making sure we're okay. I know we were MIA for a bit and we did get some emails and some messages just to make sure we're all right. we're all right. Still here.
Still here.
Still here and dealing and like everyone else. I guess just doing our best. But yeah, we've been catching up on work and going with the flow of things. Kids are back at school, like I said, and yeah, just kind of like organizing ourselves. I think our October is pretty booked, which is nice. It's good to get back in the flow.
Oh, yeah. And our interview with Howdie Mickoski is Wednesday. So we'll be posting that soon. His book is called Exit the Cave. I'll link that down below too for you guys. It's a really good read. It's very well thought out. Yeah, and he's like super down to earth and grounded in his approach too. He doesn't get like overly like emotional or those kinds of things, you know. So it's nice to read from his perspective about the soul trap. Yeah, I thought it was really well put together. So check that out. Exit the Cave. You can buy the book by donation, in PDF form. So I'll link that in the description too. And yeah, we'll probably post. I don't know if we're going to go live yet or pre-record that interview, but we will let you know.
Well, actually, maybe it would be, I don't know. I was thinking, I'm like, maybe we should pre-record it and then go live and then chat with people who may have questions. Or, yeah, it's hard to listen and then not be present for them while we're looking at live comments. I don't like that either. That's a little difficult. Especially if we have a guest, you want to be present for your guest.
We can allow them to chat without looking at the comments and then go in at the end to answer questions.
Yeah, okay. We'll set the rules in the beginning about questions. So yeah, Glennis says, do you guys do a quick scan to help us decide which healing is best? Like in terms of our services, we always highly recommend a remote spirit release before doing anything else. If you haven't gotten one with us yet, or we like to do a thorough check and make sure that's out of the way so that there's no fuckery sticking around your field if we ever do anything else.
Yeah.
It's like a prerequisite, I would say.
Yeah, it's a good, like we were saying earlier, like everything begins and ends in the spiritual realm. So if there are spiritual infringements, attachments, and things like that, it's really difficult to heal with them. So that's usually our first step. Like, let's clear your energy, get rid of those things, and then go deeper. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight. It was really a pleasure to be around and in the presence of your company. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And we will be back again. I don't know when, but we'll let you know. Tina will let you know in the community. And if you catch us, you catch us. And if not, it's okay. You can always catch the recorded version. So without being said, sending you all of our love and what do you call it? Strength. I think strength is a big one. Yeah, strength. And please be hyper aware of what's going on. That way, come into presence, be in your body, set your intention, protect yourself at all times. We just want to we don't want to feed anyone and be, I could see us as daisies in the garden with our stick bodies and like we're not, and we are not. I do not consent.
Bodies.
Don't consent.
Good night, Lana.
Good night, everybody.
And Joanna, haven't seen you in a while. All right. Love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. See you next time.